Hey guys, going to do a quick market wrap here from Hoops, and we're going to sort of start to do this a little more often. We want to give you a bit of an understanding of what's happening in the general market, how it relates back to Equalizer, things like that, just to help you keep informed, but also, give you an idea on what we're doing as well and how it relates back. So let's get into it. Firstly, we're going to go through some things around the XRP case. We're going to go into obviously ECC, which is happening at the moment in Paris. We've got the Multichain incident. We're going to go through a little bit of what's happened there. And then we've got some updates on equity as well. So that's our product that we're about to relaunch. We're going to show you through a few things there and give you a bit of an update. So firstly, I think it's important that we go through what's happened with XRP, because effectively this has been an ongoing case for a long time. And anyone that's followed is sort of watching keenly to see how it will reflect for crypto. It was one of the big first targets of the SEC a while back there, and they went really, really hard after XRP as a security. A lot of that has influenced what we have done as well as an exchange. So when we launched Equalizer, we did a fair launch system, and the reason we did that was because of cases like this pending in other areas that we thought could be of concern if we were to operate a security, right? So what we did is a full fair launch. We never ever took a dollar, and we basically have adhered to all of these things that have been ruled by the court here. So for XRP, this is huge news. It's even bigger news for Equal, because we never did any pre-sales. All we did is effectively have our token bought on chain. They're talking about OTC sales, things like that are going to cause an issue for anyone. And again, anyone in the team will be like, oh, Hoops is just mad about not allowing any type of investment from someone outside of that normal reign where everyone has to come through the exchange and buy. People have asked us for OTC. We've said no. As I said, we never raised a dollar. So effectively, we're sitting very, very well, as this is exactly what the judges ruled there with XRP, that anything that has been purchased tokens via an exchange does not breach the US federal securities law. So we're sitting really, 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 really well there, and I think we're best placed out of a lot of alts, because a lot of them raised money, and we did none of that, and we went the hard route, but that's going to prove to be instrumental as we move forward. So quickly moving on to ECC. Obviously here, this is running at the moment in Paris. You can jump on, you can have a look at all the speakers, see what's going on. Pretty big event, a lot of people there, a lot of excitement. So I think it's a big week for crypto in general, for something like that to be occurring. I saw some images. We've got Gregori there at the moment. He's there interacting with all the teams. He's got, certain dinners set up and all sorts of stuff, which is really, really good. He's sending me photos of Lambos driving through. Almost feels like the bull market's here. So it's an excellent sort of event that's occurring at the moment, and definitely worth catching up on any of your favorite projects there, or just seeing what's happening within the space. Multichain. I know everyone's sort of talking about this. There's a lot of people that did not get through this unscathed, unfortunately, especially on our network, FTM. And I think it's just important that everyone is aware of what's occurring with Multichain. If you haven't read through the tweet, and I know a lot of you would have, then I suggest going through and understanding what the news is that they've basically reported back to us on what's happening. But Multichain for itself is a really large issuer of assets for the Phantom network. So basically, majority of the assets that were on Phantom, other than FTM native, are issued through Multichain. Okay, so what that means is that effectively it's almost like an IOU letter, and then it's bridged across, and then those assets are held off the Phantom chain. Now, what occurred here was with Multichain is those assets moved. There was obviously some issues with their CEO, and we believe that he might have been reportedly taken in to custody there with the Chinese officials. And then we see, a month of sort of, not knowing what's going on there, as some routers went offline. Didn't largely affect Phantom at the time. But then a month or two later, we see, a large amount of our assets move off from the wallet that they were held in, or the protocol, to an unknown address. and then effectively destroying some of destroying the backing of the Phantom network. So what that means then is we start to see TVL just shift off the network, right? Because what we did have was we had USDC obviously pegged at $1, but now there's no value backing that, so it's a gamble what it's worth. We see liquidity dropping, which are in our pools, and then we start to see the price move up and down in a volatile manner. So we've really seen that drop off in TVL, and it's evident there on DeFi Llama. Now, I think the main thing to consider here is that we're in a rebuild phase, okay? So it's very, very unfortunate situation that's occurred. It's not something like I sort of tend to try and look forward, right, and make decisions. Look, we all lost money, myself included, people within the team, the foundation themselves, but mainly users that in some cases not engaged on a daily basis would have taken a bigger hit because they're not understanding exactly what's happening. And I think it's a very, very tough time for the chain. But in tough times, we sort of start to see a recovery, okay? And that's when opportunity can present. So I relate it back to something like Hurricane Katrina or a natural disaster like that, where all the houses are wiped out. And effectively what comes after that is a rebuild phase. And there's a lot of opportunity for builders. Because those builders come through, they build the houses, they build the structures, they redeploy again the city as it once was. And there's so much work there, there's so much opportunity, and it's just about finding that opportunity to grind out. And I truly believe that that's where we're at the moment. So the news is probably priced in effectively what's occurred. We've seen USDC drop hugely, and now it's that rebuild phase where we're going, okay, now we've got to rebuild. It's going to be a process. Hopefully we can do it as fast as possible. And the biggest challenge at the moment is bringing some more bridgeable assets onto the network. And we've got Layer 0, we've got Axelar. They're both competing very, very heavily at the moment to get those assets on the network. And we're starting to see a change and a shift in those multi-chain assets not being utilized anymore as those pools depreciate. And then we end up with hopefully coming through with these two options of assets, and then you can do your due diligence on what you think is the best option for you. We're going to be doing lots of information with the teams and giving it to the community around the different protocols or bridges that are there, how they operate, what the benefits are of one over the other, and things like that. So stick with us as we really start to educate you around why they're a much better solution than multi-chain. And on top of that, we're hearing the foundation say things like we're looking to get as much native stable coins and things like that. We're working hard to see if we can also get that on the network. So I see a huge opportunity in DeFi, and the reason I see it on Phantom, and the reason I see that is firstly, people that are willing to come on the network are getting higher APRs on their liquidity. It's you're getting AXL USDC and the Layer 0 version of USDC at really, really high APRs for providing your liquidity, much higher than they were before the breakdown. So that's a really good point. That's an area where we can focus on and we can adjust. Now, it's almost like everyone's sort of been reset back to an even level again, because on the network, to a degree, there was a lot of dead liquidity, right? And it's very, very evident as we look over at 26 cents for USDC on SpookySwap, and they've still got $1.8 million worth of liquidity sitting there. It has largely hasn't moved a lot in the way of people removing their liquidity. So it goes to show that like people are either forgotten about it, maybe it was built when it was a really low price and that, or maybe they just left crypto altogether, lost the keys. There's probably lots of reasons around why we've got this liquidity that's just sort of hung around. And that's an interesting point to view and something that I'm looking at daily to see what impacts that will have on the network. Because if you understand how an aggregator works, or you understand how the arbitrage works within the system, then these pools are going to get used. All right, you've got $1.8 million sitting there in the old USDC at 26 cents, and it's going to create volatility. So it's going to create market inefficiencies. And what do arbitrage bots love? Market inefficiencies. So they're going to effectively be dropping around and chopping around and creating volume on the network as they start to stabilize and work through how they can make a profit. And when you work on a network like Phantom with a low gas cost, then it makes sense to even make $2 here, $3 here, because the gas cost is so low. Why not make the $2 if you can? So we're going to see that move around and shift, and I think that might drive some volume and some interesting aspects. One thing we're going to see though from the aggregators is they're going to still source this liquidity, because if they can return you 3 extra FTM by going through the old USDC pool, then there's going to be some, they're obviously going to go at that, then there's going to be another arbitrage opportunity that might exist somewhere else. So it's really going to be a very interesting situation to watch over time and get our head around how it interacts. But from our perspective, we've built a really, really good flow of liquidity up early. So as you can see here, we're pumping along with like the AXL USDC pair at the moment. That's doing a huge amount of volume on a lower level of liquidity at the moment. So we expect that to continue to build, right? And that's something I wanted to bring up. I didn't actually bring it up, but we're seeing stable coins at over 20% on the network, 25, 30%. So that's huge, right? So you can get a stable coin on the network now and get a huge APR on it. So I expect these pools, as people start to understand what's going on, how to bridge onto the network and things like that, using either the Stargate bridge, which is the LZ tokens, or using Squid with Axelar. So there's a few ways to get on the network now, in and out, and it is a bit of a process to learn and how to get it there, but we've done some tutorials on that and stuff like that, and there's lots of information out there, so you'll really start to work out how to get those assets on the network, and then you can start to play with them and earn APR. So also the AXL USDC FTM pool is doing really, really well. We're happy with that. Starting to slowly build up that pool. And I think we're going to start to really see that shift and change. And this is why I'm excited, because, within, less than a week, we've been able to really get these pools firing, and we're starting to see a lot of traction and network volume come through them. And we're just going to continue to build those. So really exciting times there. And it's sort of one of those points, right, isn't it? It's like, I know that the bold get rewarded at this point, and it always happens. Look, it may not. So everything I always say is not financial advice, but effectively, those people that are a little bit more bold generally get rewarded. And I'm starting to see people come on the network that haven't been around for a while, because they'll take that little extra risk because they're going, hey, the rewards are just so good. So who knows what's going to happen with the foundation too? Do they start to stimulate stuff? I know they're stimulating stuff with the bridges themselves, but I think that they understand that the best way to come out of this recovery is by helping the builders on the network and standing by the people that stand by them. So I think at the end of the day, we're in constant communication there with the foundation. Pretty happy with how that's all progressing. So I hope we can start to see some good things there. We're in huge, we're in communication constantly with Axelar and Layer Zero, so those bridge networks there. And then even to the issues of other stable coins on the network that come through other manners, like you've got MIM, you've got Frax, and things that are bridged over natively. So we've got a lot happening on the network. There's Earn as well, which is rolling through from OP. So there's some great opportunities there around stable coins, great opportunities as we rebuild these liquidity things and people get a little bit extra while they work in on that piece there. And then we move along to equity. So we're about to relaunch equity, and I'm just bringing this up quickly to show you. We are starting the pull off with Phantom and Axelar USDC. So the reason we've gone that route is effectively we're going to start the pool just with the 2 assets. We're going to bring it up. So just like how we had just started our pool, we were going to slowly bring it up. We're doing the same thing here. The contracts are deployed, a couple little tweaks to be done there, where the UI is looking pretty good. And really, with all things going well and everything, we should see that very, very soon go live. And then we've got that huge opportunity, because we saw when we launched equity last time how quickly it was able to suck in volume for us, produce fees from the network, and then come back to our VE equal holders. So a really, really exciting time for the recovery period out of here. I'm a glass half full kind of guy, so I sort of try to look at it and go, well, we've had these issues, but how do we build out of it? Like, we can't focus on it. We can't control what's not in our control. Yes, we might be able to get some assets back through the issues with Multichain, through the foundations methods they're trying there by operating in the Chinese legal side. Yes, they've got they've mentioned, and Andre's mentioned specifically, that they'll look to help people out from their treasury, potentially, even if it got to that. And I think we're going to start to see, and I'm hoping we're going to start to see them start to incentivize, or I know we've got the vault, we've got some certain things on the network there, so I'm hoping that we start to see some sort of, benefits come through there for builders, and that where we rebuild the chain, because we've got a lot of work to do to bring liquidity back on the network. And liquidity is huge for making sure that we've got, our lenders online, we've got our swaps going on, we've got all of those things within the network we require so we can build even more. So we saw Geist leave, and effectively they hadn't done a lot for a while. They, to be honest, it was sort of a very weird sort of situation there, how they set up in the early days and then hadn't done a lot. So they're moving off, which gives opportunity to another lender to come on. We've got Granary, they're working ahead. You've got Scream that are doing things there as well. So I think, look, from a lending perspective, there's a new opportunity there. From a perps perspective, there's a huge opportunity there, because we're all starting from ground zero again. Anyone that had an MLP that didn't remove it at that time with the depegged assets, then we saw a bit of an issue there for them. So it's a full rebuild on those MLPs. There's been a lot of issues within the network that are now going to be rectified, and it's really a race for us to all put our options forward, get liquidity on the network, get liquidity into our system from our perspective. And then we can start to move forward with, the great ruling from XRP, things like that, where, at the end of the day, we could be seeing Bitcoin make some moves as well. And we've seen it sort of start to steady. We've got BlackRock out there in the mist to see if they get approved. If that gets approved tomorrow, hey, it'll almost be forgotten very quickly, the turmoil and stuff that's been created there. Again, I'm not discounting anything that's happened to people. I know that everyone lost money. A lot of people lost money, myself included. It wasn't the best experience, but we learn from that, right? Like, we start to change the way we do things. We investigate further into the options of these bridges. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we thought multi-chain was secure, we're like, okay, well, they were the areas that were able to be manipulated and changed there. Well, what does it look like moving forward? Well, does a decentralized system with Axelar, with Layer 0, with their technology, what do we want to see moving forward when we're putting trust in assets on the Phantom network?